to ward off feelings that are very dysphoric and uncomfortable. Rarely do I get a guy come in and say, hey, I'm depressed. I have guys come in and say, my wife thinks I'm depressed. My partner thinks I'm depressed. And I say, do you think you're depressed? I don't know. I have no idea. Oftentimes in mass depression, there's addiction connected to it. There's anger. There's a kind of irritability. And so it doesn't really look like this kind of sad depression. And so a lot of guys, when we actually get in there, and maybe 5th or 6th session, all of a sudden one guy will say, hey, I'm on antidepressants. And then all of a sudden you hear 3 other guys go, oh, me too. Which one are you on? And so the depression is a part of the process. And again, my bias is antidepressants are great mood changers. They do not change behavior. And so a lot of the guys who are on antidepressants are going, yeah, I don't feel as bad, but I want to feel better. I want to feel some passion in my life. I want to figure out how to do this. And a lot of that has to do with disappointments they've had. And obviously the growth process is in the end, I think, what everybody gets out of the group. So, you know, the question is, what do I want to accomplish with this particular group of men in terms of group process and each individual's goals? So this is, to me, by the way, that's my son, who's a guitar player. I'm proud of him, and he probably doesn't know that. He's a teenager, and I try to tell him, and he thinks, I'm, not. But I actually brought my son to group when he was 6 months old. And every year we do a camping trip with our group and go to Joshua Tree out in California and spend the night. And it's pretty laid back. And one year we had guys bring their sons. And so it was kind of cool. Jared, my son, came, and he had a great time. But that's what we're looking for. This is our goal when we do our group. And you can see it's almost like antidepressant. Vitality, energy, self-esteem, presence, the freedom to act, the flexibility, self-awareness. We're trying to expand guys. I think Gary mentioned that in the previous presentation, that it's not about taking away pieces of who you are as a man, but rather expanding that. And this is the goal of our group eventually, is to free up that energy so guys have it. So let me talk a little bit about recruiting for a group, because I think a lot of the questions that I've gotten before is, how do you get guys in a group? It's been my experience that our first rounds of this was actually very difficult. We went and talked to therapists in the community and said, hey, we're doing this group. We wrote up a flyer. We talked about what kind of men we would like to have in the group. Also went to churches and synagogues and places where where someone might know about men who are needing help. And that seemed to be pretty good. We got a lot of referrals, but you have to be the presence. I mean, I really feel like you can't just send them a flyer. You have to make some kind of in-person connection with your referral network so they go, yeah, I like that person. Yeah, I would send somebody over there. We also get a lot of referrals from female therapists who have been working with guys and go, you know what, I think this guy needs other guys to hang out with and to be part of it. And so we've actually gotten a lot of connections that way. The internet these days is great. I'm on Psychology Today, and I have my group on there, and people find me for male-oriented therapy, but they also find groups there, and that's something you can do. The 12-step groups we've made connections with, so it's sort of like advanced group for people coming out of, Alcoholics Anonymous, or we get a lot of guys who are dealing with sexual issues. There are a lot, in California there just seems like a lot of self-help groups, and they tend to find us. And then we do the interview. We ask the guy to come in, and oftentimes what we're doing is not so much doing the super detailed history, but rather we're telling them about the group to see how they respond to it and sort of give them a sense of what it might be like, and we also find out from them what they're wanting from the group. And occasionally, obviously if someone's psychotic or someone can't keep up in the interview, then probably they're not a good fit. We sometimes get angry guys that are, you can tell they really don't want to be there, and we're worried that they may mess with the dynamics in the group.
When you say we, Fred, what?
Oh, okay. I have a co-therapist.
Okay.
Okay, so one of my, guy who I've been doing this since the late 80s is my co-therapist. And he and I go out for dinner before the group, process what's going to happen. We do the group together and then hang out after the group and spend time processing that too. And he and I have been friends, so in a way it's our men's group, but it's also, we get a lot from the group too. I mean, that's something why I can keep doing this. And that's an obvious one. I think anybody who enjoys doing therapy, it's because there's an exchange going on. You're not trying to fix these guys, you're just trying to be part of their lives in a facilitative way. We do informed consent, by the way, because we do a lot of exercises. We do a lot of physical exercise, and I'm going to talk about that. We do a lot of acting out things because it seems that guys do better in terms of touching some of the emotional stuff after doing something that has an activity base to it. What were you going to say?
I was just going to ask, when you say it runs from October to June, is it a closed group?
Yeah, we close it.
Okay.
We interview people usually in August and September, start the group beginning of October, and then we have an opening in January, because sometimes people find us. So we're 2 months in, and we have a window right after the new year. It seems, for some reason, that seems like a good time for people to decide they want to do something like this. And so we're willing to open it up at that point. What were you going to say?
I was curious about, I've been running a co-facilitator men's group in a college counseling center, and when you're screening them, do you make the decision with your co-facilitator in that screening whether they're going to be in or out? Because I found this kind of in-out stuff that we've had to make decisions where some people didn't fit.
Yeah.
We were kind of like recapitulating this. Well, you didn't
You
cut
didn't
it.
cut it.
Sorry.
You didn't make it. You didn't make the team.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. You know what? Here's what I try to do. I try to do an initial screening on the phone. So I talk to them on the phone and I get a sense that they would be good. If I get a sense that this is kind of an odd match, then I'm tentative on the phone. And so when I come and I say, come for the interview, let's see if we're a good match. And if we're not a good match, then we'll give you some ideas of where else you might want to work, or you might want to work individually. So we give alternatives and try not to reject the person. The guys we reject typically are guys that are, let's see, the prototype here, would be somebody who really doesn't want to be in, or someone who's out of touch with reality. Okay, and so that seems okay. I feel like I can guide either of those guys into alternatives. We also interview guys who we think are going to be great, and they reject us. You know, they're like, nah, that wasn't the kind of group I was thinking it was going to be. Okay, there are some people, and you have to decide on your style. Some people are more cognitive. I would say we're more psychodynamic, existential, kind of action-oriented. And so somebody's got to be up for that. And as we explain that to them, that's the informed consent, and they go, ooh, I don't know about that. And I've made mistakes in my time where I've pushed people early in group to do something that they weren't comfortable doing, and they were gone. And that, I've learned my lesson. So we try to make sure that people are ready to make the next step in the group and not have it be too overwhelming. But when you have a mix of people, so you have veterans in there and new guys, there's a sort of a tightrope you have to walk. And what we tell the new guys is, hey, don't worry about it. Some of these guys have been in there before, they're going to seem more comfortable. You have to just wait until you feel comfortable to, make your move in there. So, question or?
How critical is diversity in these groups?
It's good. I mean, we've had diversity. We have, where I am in Southern California, there's lots of diversity. We've had guys, who are from different, we've had gay guys, we've had African American, Hispanic, Asian, and white. But I would say this appeals, what I've seen, it more appeals to white guys. And I'm not sure why.